Still can't do it. Hello there, I'm Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com, you're a sexual wank pheasant, and welcome to all the WTF moments from last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. An episode of Raw that could not have gotten off to a better start after Ric Flair was completely off his tits and a fantastic match between Drew McIntyre and big old Trevor. But then after that, we got a decent show. Once again, just like last week's Friday Night SmackDown, it was all about the wrestling. There was only a couple of non-wrestling bits, but the rest of it was all wrestling. And I guess the bad thing about making the show all about the Grappletons is the fact it can feel a bit rudderless, like a boat that's lost in the sea, a bit directionless. But at least it was more wrestling than it was crappy filler, although there was a couple of bits of crappy filler, no doubt. We'll talk about them in the upcoming moments. At the intro. WTF! But we kicked off the show with yet more reminders of that absolute bollocks that took place at Hell in a Cell. And it's almost as if WWE do not realise it's something we all really want to forget. It was like a big old Facebook feed took over your life at the start of last night's Raw, showing you pictures of the night out you had last night, where you did things that you didn't want to show to your own mother. Because they were bad. Now you can forget about Crown Jewel. Everyone knows that's just a crappy glorified house show. It doesn't count whatsoever. Best in the world aside. Best in the world aside. Just forget about the badness that happened at Hell in a Cell, man. Let us move on with our lives, will you? Yet another misplaced reminder then followed this, as we were reminded that this guy we're supposed to look to for inspiration and as a role model. But we were reminded that he's nothing more than an arsehole and a criminal and someone who destroyed the best thing about WWE today. Well, I guess it's their own doing, isn't it? They've made their bed and they've got to live in it. But in an ironic turn of events, boys and girls, I wish they would take this bad idea from bad creative and burn it down with actual fire, then piss on it with more gasoline, then nuke the bastard for Christ's sake, poke it between the eyes and spit on it for good measure. And then we get to the first words that came out of the mouth of Big Vic Joseph right at the start of last night's show, and I cannot believe for the life of me they're trying to peddle this bollocks for the 100th time since about 2016, but Vic said at the top of the show, a new era begins. Hit the thing, you might as well. We're going to use it anyway, aren't we? And I guess we've got to make this following thing a WTF moment, as it seems that finally WWE realise just how many world titles Ric Flair has won according to their own history books. It's a miracle they got this wrong once upon a time, but they did very recently so. As we all know, Flair has either won 21 or 25 or WWE 16 World Heavyweight titles. It depends who you ask. But a while ago, they claim he'd won 17, and that's just unforgivable. Although, as I mentioned right at the top of this video, after Ric Flair was speaking a lot of the words on last night's Raw and the manner in which he did so, I just think we should give him that 17th world title because it was glorious. So during that opening promo, we had Tricky Dicky Ricky, who seemed to be full of all of the piss and all of the vinegar of a really horny 17-year-old boy in the library looking at pages on the internet that he shouldn't have been looking at. But Rick was talking about Team Hogan because, of course, we're having that match at Crown Jewel next week. Ric Flair said the following: they are great men or they wouldn't be in WWE. Because that's how that works, isn't it? And then Rick, and I can't imagine that Vince McMahon is very happy about the fact he said this, he said, I've got the last hand to play. Then he looked at some fella in the crowd and said, tell your girlfriend that, buddy. Oh dear. And just a quick reminder now that Richard Morgan Flair, I don't know how you pronounce his real name, was born, I've forgotten, on February the 25th, 1949. And then Tricky Dicky Ricky claimed that Drew McIntyre has kissed every girl in Cleveland and made them cry. And I bet Drew's wife was simply cock-a-hoop about hearing about that one, Ricky. What am I saying Ricky for? And you've got to ask the question, why would the girls be crying after a nice kiss from Big Daddy Drew McIntyre? love to smooch that man, I would. He's lovely. And now it's time for some hack theory, because I reckon that Drew McIntyre must have cut one of his world-famous WWE promos mere seconds before diving in. I'm going to warn everybody right now, this is going to get uncomfortable. You see, young lassie, I'm going to decimate you and make you feel my pain. Get in my belly. Now, this is a bit of a weird WTF moments, considering the precedent I have set on this absolute nonsense of a video series, but the way that Ricochet got into the ring on last night's Raw is a huge WTF moment in my opinion. So he's running down the ramp and he gets to the part where the pads start on the floor, and somehow, someway, he just jumps and goes sideways under the bottom rope, and he made it look really cool and really easy, and I was sat there watching with me massive belly feeling really inadequate and worthless, so thanks, Trevor. I mean, poor Trevor. But now it's time for this.
Wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank.
Hello and welcome back to Wankety Wank, the section of WTF Moments where you spot something I've missed. Now look at my Twitter feed and go, oh, they've spotted something I've missed. I'm going to put a screenshot of their tweet on this video here. Thank you to Captain Deadpool for pointing out things about Superman I had no idea about. You live and learn, don't you? So at this time I've asked my good pal and close personal friend Steve Carell to provide a dramatic reading of that there Ric Flair ringside promo from last night's Raw. He didn't know where SmackDown was on Friday. He was shouting right in the face of poor old Sarah Schreiber. It was absolutely beautiful. Now, I don't know about you, but I found it really assuring that a bloke like me, just an average Joe from Average Joe's gym, what's a gym, can beat up an actual assassin who likes to pick and fight with people. I was dominating that match a little bit too severely at times, wasn't I? What was I thinking there? I'm just a jobber. I'm there to make Big Ali look better than he might actually be. Bad me. Luke Gallows, a massive fan of the Sweet Mary Jane, it turns out, which has to be a huge WTF moment, because all WWE superstars are clean as a whistle and abide by the law every second of their lives. Just look at his face when Uncle Alan revealed that weed is illegal in Cleveland. He was so mad, he turned into Festus. And now it's time for this once again.
Wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank, wankety wank.
Welcome back to Wankety Wank, and this time we have a man called Egghead telling me that I can indeed get the sweet marijuana, a massive big fat bifter. I can roll a fatty with that pimp daddy. But all I need to do first is get a doctor's note, and let me tell you, that's really easy. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, they did. And next up we have the Bane spirit animal Rusev quite literally turning up to Raw dressed as Freddie Mercury. And I guess that's quite fitting really, and I'm just going to read this out because there's no chance in hell I'm going to remember everything I've written down here, because Rusev clearly wants to break free from that relationship with Lana. Presumably he wants to move on and find somebody to love with that moustache as he rocks me. We will rock you though, Ross. Rusev is also under pressure because of this crazy little thing called love that has made him gagging for those fat-bottomed girls, since Lana is being a killer queen. Rusev will be saying don't stop me now, as another one will bite the dust, one Vision Flash's theme queen. And next up we have to ask the question, how on earth did Bobby Lashley know that my bae and spirit animal Rusev was in the middle of the ring live on Monday Night Raw when Bobby supposedly was in the midst of a really romantic meal with Lana at a clearly 5-star restaurant that was really 5-star restaurant-y. It wasn't a set at all. And now it's time for Hack Theory. Lana is so boring that Bobby Lashley watches wrestling during romantic dates. Now, even though that there was really awkward, it's still the least awkward thing we've seen from Bobby Lashley and Lana, and that's saying something. So we're going to take it and celebrate. But the main thing I took away from that segment there, which is also, coincidentally, a WTF moment, is the fact that Bobby Lashley eats cream. And let me tell you, Bob, I stand there with the canister thing, and I squeeze it right into my mouth, and I don't look like that. Why is that? And also it was revealed that it was Lana's dream to go to that restaurant there. And when I heard her say that, I was thinking to myself, I'm sat there at the time watching Raw, looking like I do. You've got to laugh sometimes, boys or girls, or you just end up crying yourself to sleep every single night. But anyway, I'm sat there looking like this, and I've never dreamed ever of going to a restaurant ever. So why is Lana doing that?
Go, go, Power Rangers!
Still watches TV like a twat though. Now you at home, you right there, you are not going to tell me that that referee did not see what Zelina Vega is doing there. Because he did. And once again, I feel like it's the perfect time to get my petition to have Curt Hawkins installed to be the only referee in WWE off the floor once again, because he proved in that match there he is the best to ever do it. And why they don't use him, it's baffling. Back once again, we went to the restaurant and certain camera angles had me questioning the legitimacy of this supposed dream restaurant Lana was dreaming about. It wasn't very dreamy at all. Now, I've watched a lot of Kitchen Nightmares with Big Gordon, and I've made some notes that tell me that was not the restaurant Lana and Bobby were claiming it was, because the decor was horrible. The basic bitch tablecloths, they were basic and they were bitchy. The horrible Poundland fake flowers that were on the tables, that wouldn't happen in a proper restaurant. What else do we have? The random table and open space at the front of the restaurant there. The carpet was horrible. And they got that glass thing that goes out into... It wasn't a real restaurant at all, was it? Hack theory once again, as I believe that's just a set they set up backstage. Groundbreaking stuff here. They're treating us like mugs again. God knows I want to break free. Ray forgot, didn't he? He did, didn't he, Ray? Forgot your arm's supposed to be buggered, man. And next up we have Seth Rollins telling Charlie Caruso that, Charlie, I found my way into the Firefly Funhouse. Therefore, I must be in Bray Wyatt's head, mustn't I? I'm brilliant, I'm Seth Rollins. As it would appear, judging by Seth Rollins' words there, that what we saw at the close of last week's Raw didn't actually happen. It's all in Bray's head. Woohoo! Spooky! Or Seth Rollins is full of shit. I didn't want to burn down the Firefly Funhouse, Humberto, but I had to. It's not about doing the stuff that pleases people, it's about doing what's right. If that's the case, Sethy Poo, in what perspective, from what perspective, is burning down the Firefly Funhouse the right thing to do? Maybe from the perspective of a main event heel who is trying to take down the most popular thing in WWE today, but from any other perspective going, I don't think it is the right thing. You jumping to that conclusion there just feels like you've done a big old maths test, Sethy Poo, but you've done one of those maths tests that requires you to show the working, but you've shown no working and just written down the answer, and I think you've used a calculator when calculators aren't permitted. Now I'm here to tell that Cleveland Brown right here that he is never, ever, ever going to get invited to another WWE event as long as he lives. That's because he stood there dressed as Scott Steiner, and after this video is finished, I want you to go on the YouTubes, search Scott Steiner, maybe throw in a Stephanie McMahon, maybe throw in a Triple H, and look at the things Scott has had to say about those two people especially, and you'll see why he'll never come back ever again. Well, that's weird, isn't it? I've got no idea what to say, but I'll say one thing. Roman Reigns is winning the WWE Championship between now and Crown Jewel, otherwise that thing's a lie, and the Prince won't be happy about that, will he? But thank the Lord, everybody, the Firefly Funhouse is returning on this week's Friday Night SmackDown, as it would appear that one, this is option one, what we saw in last week's Raw didn't actually happen, and it was just an imagination, just a Disney film. Or number two, WWE have built an entire new house in double quick time, a time that Smiley Carol Smiley would have been in awe of. And we end with a look at you. But we also end with a what? Oh hell nah, huh? Hold up! As there wasn't a single women's match on last night's Raw whatsoever, as the women's revolution is very much alive. 3 whole hours, not a single women's match. Although I guess this shouldn't really be a shock, because I don't know if you've heard, but a week from Thursday is Crown Jewel. So we're building up to that one in the best way possible, aren't we? So I'd like them to explain that one, because I don't think they could. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com. Thank you for being a sexual wank faisant. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. And if you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Hit subscribe and join us.